Hi everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Raimo Or. Today we're going to talk about the transition between the 3D reality to the 5D reality. Now, a lot of you have probably heard about the fifth dimension. Some people ask me, why is the shift only from the third to the fifth? What happens to the fourth? The fourth is actually the astral plane. The astral plane is where we are departing when we are going to sleep. It's sometimes where we go when we are in deep meditations. The whole astral projection phenomenon also has to do with the astral plane. But the real move is between the 3D vibration of humanity into the 5D dimension of humanity. I would like to go into the differences between the 3D reality and the fifth dimension reality. What do I mean? I mean that some of us, in some of the things that I'm going to mention, are already living in the fifth dimension awareness. And yet, time is moving differently for us, and yet for some of the other things, we're not. Because to be completely in the 5D awareness, we have to be cleaning our karma completely, and we have to be in a higher vibration. We have to become the ultimate manifestors without a shred of fear. And yet, we find ourselves somewhere on this scale. So don't worry if you're still here in some of the things, and don't worry if you're already there in some of the things. Don't judge yourself, because the 5D is really without judgment. It's just becoming much more aware of yourself. So the first thing, or the first symptom, is moving between a dual and a polar perspective of things into a more unison, meaning united. And what does that mean? A long time ago, when our souls have decided to come down to earth, we understood that this place is a place of a very low vibration, meaning we decided to disconnect from our godly connection, forget who we truly are, so we can experience this game in a very well manner. Meaning, if we would know and remember who we were, we wouldn't feel that separateness from God, from each other, from the creation itself. So the sensation of separateness is a part of the 3D or the third dimension game. And what we wanted to do is to experience feelings towards each other. We could not experience sadness, excitement, in love, unless we would completely believe that we are separate from one another. And that created a need for a polarity or for a dual way of living, meaning a definition of good and bad, a definition of male and female, meaning a definition of the female energy and the masculine energy. And each one of us has chosen to play a role. I chose to play a role as a masculine or a masculine energy, while my wife chose to play a role as a feminine energy. And we decided to come together when we were mature enough or developed enough to understand that I can also become more feminine and she can also become more masculine. So in the fifth dimension, we can actually expect people or men to become more feminine and women to become more masculine. Doesn't mean that they're going to grow muscles. It's just that the logical part, less of the emotional baggage that comes with it or the upheavals. And for men, it will be less about being indifferent about our emotions, meaning more connected, more patient, more everything that women are, which is just better. So the dual way of thinking is where I think that I'm right and other people are wrong. Hence, if I'm right, other people are wrong. In the unison or in the unity way of thinking, without the dual way of thinking, everybody's right all the time. Truth has many facets that we haven't seen before, and suddenly everything becomes more logical, more simple, more plain, because we suddenly see the truth in everything. For example, in the dual way of thinking, each person from the 1,000 religions that we have on the planet is born thinking his God is the right God, or his way of thinking is the right way of thinking. Everybody else is wrong. Probably everybody else has to die or convert in some way. In the other way of thinking, the 5D or the fifth dimensional way of thinking, everybody's right. Every God is right. Everyone is perfect for where they are in their own process. So a vegan won't judge a vegetarian, won't judge a carnivore, because they will all see that it's just a part of each person's progress. The next difference is that in the 3D, we are concentrating ourselves on service to self, while in the 5D, we're putting all our awareness into service to others. What does that mean? It means that here we have an ego-based society. We are selfish. We think more about ourselves. Then we think about our family or the ones closest to us. Only then we think about our society. First, our city. After that, our country. Only after that, most people don't even realize that they compare themselves as a species, meaning I think about humans before I think about animals. And if people would be aware of the existence of aliens as well, then we would probably be prejudiced about them as well, or we will probably generalize them as well and think about humanity or Earth first and aliens after. So that means that I first take care of myself. That is the service to self. And that just means that more than 50% of the time, I would probably do an action. My job will be for myself. I won't volunteer much. I won't donate anything. I will most of the time think about service to self. And in the fifth dimension, I suddenly start realizing that I'm not by myself. I'm more in the unity, like we talked about in the first difference. And when in unity, I understand that everyone is God seeing through a different perspective. I will understand that the vibrations that we are in are all one. Everything is one. And it won't become just a sentence, it won't become just a hypothesis that I understand using just words. It actually becomes a knowingness. And when this knowingness is very, very clear to me, I start wanting to serve others. As an example, myself, about 5 years ago, I went through a very, very serious changes in my life and I started wanting to serve more. In the beginning, I didn't want to. In the beginning, it wasn't clear to me. It wasn't a definition of what does it mean to serve others. But then I was pushed. I was pushed by my guidance. I was pushed by my higher self to start giving lectures, to start explaining some of the knowledge that I've attained during my lifetime in a very simple way. I started teaching breatharianism or pranic living workshops, and I started understanding that because I'm so happy, because I'm so content and I'm well, this is the time to serve others. This is the time to serve others, and nobody has to do it in the same way like me. Meaning a mother that loves her children, a friend that smiles to other people in the street, anybody you can actually serve. But it's a switch in the mind. You start thinking about others before you think about yourself. When somebody cuts you off in the road, you're not pissed at him, you're not angry at him, you won't honk. Why? Because you understand that he is you. Maybe he's in a rush. You forgive him immediately like you forgive yourself. That is the transition between service to self to service to others. You start understanding that everything truly is one and it becomes a knowingness. The next difference between the 3D and the 5D is the separateness. And separateness is derived from the fear. Fear meaning every country in the world right now has some way of a fear-based society built. Meaning where I live right now in Israel, it is the economic crashes or the political, same time like Venezuela. And in the 5D, we no longer have the separateness, we have the unity, which doesn't require any more fears. Meaning you're not afraid to wake up in the morning, you're not afraid of dying, you are in the knowingness that everything is okay, you are a soul. So you connect with the different parts of your soul and you understand that nothing bad is going to happen, everything is going to happen according to the best synchronicities ever. Now I've talked a little bit about separateness and unity in other videos and I don't want to go and dive into it again, just look it up. The next difference is that in the 3D, we have the split soul over split timelines. And in the 5D, we have a united soul. Well, what does that mean? It means that right now, a person is really aware of his current life and nothing more. Sometimes in his dreams, he has recollections. Sometimes he has different traumas that he doesn't know how to explain and he has to go to a healer or he has to go to a psychologist. And sometimes if he gets hypnotized, for example, he remembers past traumas or past lives even. Because our soul is actually split. Our soul is very, very smart. It does a lot of things simultaneously. And lifetimes, even though it seems like it's in the past or in the future, lifetimes actually all exist in one present. So if we are changing and healing a different lifetime, we're actually changing and healing ourselves as well. And that's why in the 3D, it is a split soul condition. And in the 5D, we're becoming more and more aware of all of our personalities, all of our lifetimes coming together. And this actually happens right now. Right now, some of you probably feel some fatigue, some tiredness some days. Sometimes you even get agitated or angry without any reason and you don't understand why. Why sometimes you feel high, why sometimes you feel low, because everything is becoming to surface, because we are in the transition. Ever since 2012, a lot of you have probably heard about it, that the gates of the higher vibration have actually opened. We're actually moving, the whole solar system is actually moving into a different location inside the galaxy. And consciousness are waves of consciousness waves coming from the center of the galaxy to our sun, and then it's distributed to the different planets. And this is what we're actually feeling. There's of course a very bigger or wider story, but I just want to go into the narrow, just to touch the 3D to 5D dimension differences, because this is not supposed to be a very, very long video. So like I said, in the 50, the soul is connected to each other. You become more aware of who your true self is, and therefore you don't need to play the game of separateness as much. You've already begun noticing the different changes, because if you're an explorer or you're a consciousness explorer, one of the things that you're actually doing is putting your intention on knowing more, and that's why you're watching these type of videos. The next difference is in the 3D, there is a misalignment with the universe. And in the 5D, there's synchronicity. What does that mean? Misalignment means that because I'm not aware of myself, because I'm more separated, and again, it's a scale. It's not absolute. You're not only here or only here. You're actually transitioning between here and there. And by the way, one of the symptoms of the 3D is trying to define things in absolute terms, meaning I'm either here or I'm there. In the 5D, it's much more flexible. For example, you've noticed that a lot of people are becoming much more individual. A lot of people are going through divorces. A lot of people are going to change their jobs. A lot of things are happening in this transition because a person can no longer fight with the universe. And he wants the synchronicities that have been granted to him ever since he was enlightened, ever since he was a master that chose to come to be a human being. Because we are truly the masters. So misalignment means I'm fighting reality in some way. I'm not listening to my higher self. I'm not listening to my intuition. I'm doing things to please others. I am still in a relationship that I'm afraid to leave because I'm afraid of being alone. I'm still working a job to satisfy what my mother or father wanted me to do, and I'm not really enjoying. I'm not waking up every morning with a huge smile. That is misalignment. And when we're moving between the misalignment to the synchronicity, suddenly we understand much more. We don't plan much ahead. We understand that everything is happening in the now. So we can envision what it is that we want, but actually the universe will conspire to bring everything in the highest synchronicity with us, other people in our life, and everybody that is around us in a perfect way. So everybody will enjoy it in the best way feasible. That's synchronicities. And again, I had an entire video done just on synchronicities, how can you have more synchronicities in your life, what does it mean to have synchronicity, and most of you already have some of those, and I want you to have much more of them, because when you will transition to a higher vibration, you'll suddenly realize that everything is just working out for you. The people you meet, the relationships you have, the money in your bank, everything. And it's all about here. It's all about here. The change, the switch that comes from the mind and then echoes to the heart. And then you become in a higher vibration. It's simply the transition that we're going through. Now, one point that I wanted to touch was before, it is the absolute. You will notice that a lot of people that require constant proof of things, people that require the absolute evidence of things, they're still stuck in the 3D. Because the heart and the spiritual body is different than the mental body. The mental body wants to understand. The mental body wants to see the evidence. But faith has it the other way around. Faith says, I believe, and therefore I see. Science says, I see, therefore I believe. So what we need to understand is that it's much more than just the brain here. It is the spiritual body. The one that says, I know I'm not a human being on a spiritual quest. I am a spirit on a human being quest, or a human being short experience. The next difference is between the self-exploration and self-knowing. You can also say seeking spirituality or knowing I am a spirit. In the 3D, we are actually seeking all the time. We're seeking knowledge by books. We're seeking knowledge by looking at other people on YouTube or different mentors. And we're seeking different, maybe, lectures, workshops to better ourselves, to know more about ourselves, to understand what it is consciousness, who am I. But when we're transitioning to the 5D, we're becoming more and more aware of who we truly are. Some of us even recollect different lifetimes. Some of us just feel it intuitively, who we truly are. And I'm not talking about the definition of a human being or what we see in the mirror, but I'm talking about the spirit, the unlimited entity that has chosen to come here and awaken and be a part of Earth's awakening. And many of us have been waiting for a long time for humanity to wake up so we can take our role here. And every one of us, the ones that are watching me, the light workers, the wanderers, the ones that have woken up or the ones that haven't woken up yet, every one of us has a part. And our part is very simple. We have to be who we were supposed to be. Be yourself. The easiest thing is you can be. And what it requires is not a lot of learning, it requires a lot of unlearning, because we have to unlearn social programming from our parents, from our school, about our sex, about different things that have been generalized, about different things that we have gone through, that we have to really unlearn to become who we truly are. So in the 50, there is a self-knowingness. There's no longer self-investigation, but the unknowingness brings a whole different game. It doesn't mean that we stop seeking other truths. It's just that we know the bigger truth and now we're seeking different things. Again, it's just like a completely different game. For example, I stopped reading book and gaining information from the outside, and started getting much more information from my intuition, from downloads, as one might call it. And some of the words that I say, I don't even think about it. They just come. And then the knowledge is just stored in my body. And the last difference I would like to talk about between the 3D and the 5D is in the 3D, most people are usually stuck on thoughts about the future and about the past. Meaning 99% of our thoughts are repetitive thoughts that we don't actually need to think. And that causes a phenomenon called overthinking. Overthinking causes stress, causes people to be much more in the mind, and much less in their heart, and much less being. And in the 50, we're shifting into the awareness of the present moment alone. Meaning entire days can go by and you won't even notice. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. All you want to do is what I'm doing right now. What am I doing right now? What am I focused on right now? Different practices like Zen practices really help you get in that zone. You know, they say do mindfulness practices like focus only on one thing. Don't go to the toilet with the phone. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes, don't listen to music. When you're on your phone, don't do other things. When you're in a conversation, just be in the conversation. So you're focused much more on the present moment, and that connects you to the universe much more. You will notice that again, you have been shifting from the 3D to the 5D awareness. You've probably noticed that there's a lot of symptoms that come to you in the last few years. A lot of symptoms, some of them are physical. You might have some illnesses. Sometimes you would feel emotional symptoms as well. Sometimes you won't understand why you're feeling so tired or have these waves of ups and downs. You'll start noticing that you're meeting much more people of your likeness, unless you haven't left the people that are no longer serving you or no longer in your vibration and you're actually holding on to them. From the 3D to the 5D, the power of manifestation of the human mind becomes much more increased. You won't have to wait a few months for whatever it is that you envision. Sometimes you will get it in that same afternoon. Sometimes you'll get it after a minute. Sometimes you'll understand that the change is only in here, and it's a vibration of your thoughts and your emotions that you're emanating out. So in the 5D, it will be almost immediate. It's already becoming more and more quick, or more faster and faster, as one might say. But for you, you're an individual. You're somewhere between the 3D and the 5D in these different items, these different properties that I've described. So see what can you do to get yourself into the higher vibration and shift yourself. So to summarize, we are in the midst of a great change in humanity, shifting between the 3D to the 5D. You've probably noticed that some of the differences you're already feeling. And what I want is for you to work on raising your vibration. And it's very simple. Be who you were meant to be. Be happy. Be conscious. Work on yourself. Enjoy life. Help others. Expand always. So my name is Raymore. Thank you very much for watching me. If you enjoyed this video, please like it or even share it.